Hi students, let me continue the video, the fourth video of this lesson, the last lesson. So, first of all, a hearty welcome to all of you for today's class, and we are going to deal with a Flamingo textbook, that is a class 12th English core textbook. And as in a previous class, we have learned the first lesson which is prescribed by CBSE for class 12th English core, that is none other than the last lesson. This particular prose piece of work was written by Alfonso Daudet, a French writer, and we would like to continue the remaining part of this lesson and hope we would like to conclude the lesson also. So, this is what the structure of our presentation, and we are almost at the 8th point. We are discussing the lesson in detail, and we have to finish the remaining part of it also. So, while dealing with this lesson, we are discussing the lesson in detail, and in this lesson these are some bullet points which I have made it, and already some of these points we have covered in a great detail. And up to this point, that the last French lesson of I am Hamel is began, and the whole class was a serious, and not only the classmates of a little French attended the last lesson, even lot of villagers gathered over there in the classroom, which is a very unusual scene felt by the little French. And we would like to know, how do young Hamel had took that particular last lesson. So, as we have already seen in a third part of this video, vocabulary. So, once again, for your kind information, I would like to glance one's views on the glossary part which we are about to come across in this, the fourth part, and those glossary part we will come across the terms of the words such as half wing means creeper, twined meaning twisted, pale used to describe a person's face or skin if it has less color than usual, whenever the person will become somewhat dull or energyless. Solemn means serious, gesture meaning a signal, and vaivala. A vaivala is a French term. The meaning of this particular French term is none other than long live. So, with these vocabularies, we would like to know the remaining part of this story. So, as a little French went to the school, and as before going to the school, he was very much afraid because he has not prepared well of a participle which the teacher was supposed to ask, and even he was very late. But in spite of that, lot of temptation took place. The nature tempted him. The Persian soldiers' drill was attracts him, and he controlled himself and he moves on. He had come across the bulletin board at the town hall, and even he got a comment from the old houser as if he had made a fun of this little French, and out of breath he had reached the class, and as usual every day a lot of commotion means a noise was there in a classroom, and that's what he heard from a long distance. But on that day it was very silent, and that's why he feels something different. And that's why he had entered the class. And when he was entered the class, he thought that without getting an attention in the noise, he will enter. But the teacher, his classmates, all of them, they are sitting very quietly. And that's why the teacher also eagerly waiting for the arrival of a little French. And as the teacher, he thought that he will scold him, but it was not happened as per his own versions. Rather, the teachers asked him that without you, how can we begin the class? But when suddenly he saw the teacher was wearing some kind of a different dress on that day, and it was totally a silence of a Sunday morning. A lot of villagers were gathered over there at the back benches, and all those villagers are there in the classroom in order to pay respect and tribute to the teacher called M. Hamel, who put up the 40 years of his selfless service in this school. And in order to express the solidarity with the France, all of them, they gathered over there. And as they have gathered, Hamel made an announcement that it would be the last French lesson. And French realized his own mistake by that time, because his own mother tongue, France, that is a French language, he may not be good because he has neglected a study, and that's why he regretted why he had not taken his lesson so seriously up to that time. And Hamel also realizes at that time, and his own self realization also, we would like to come to know in the course of our discussion of the remaining part of this lesson. So, this is how the teacher was a very grim, and he was looking, he was watching, he was about to get the imprints of each and everything of this class, because this is the last class of the teacher M. Hamel. And while lecturing or while teaching the students during his last class, M. Hamel also felt some realization, and those realization he had expressed in front of the whole class. And as he felt that he himself is a part of that, because he thought, he asked many times the students to go and water the flower, and sometimes whenever he wanted to go for fishing, he used to give a holiday to the whole class. And that's why he too also, for a time being, thought that the part of his own mistake, and he realized himself. And not only he was found himself as a part, even he thought the children are also equally a part of it, because most of them, they are very much reluctant to learn and often put up their lesson, because every day they thought of that they will do the next day, and now the next day may not comes in the life of those people. And apart from the children, he thought the parents are also equally responsible for the present state, because the parents who wanted the children to work in a farm and a mill to earn a money, and sometimes they may not able to send their children to the school. And that's why, due to all these factors, he thought that the student of this particular district, that is Alaska and Loreno, may not able to perform as per his expectation. And that's why he thought all these three stakeholders are to be blamed for losing a respect as well as regards for the mother tongue, because tomorrow, means on the very next day onwards, the people of these two districts are going to cut off from their own mother tongue, which is the greatest punishment that the German government inflicted upon them on account of a Franco-Prussian war. So here we are going to know that the teacher M. Hamel, he was very much having attachment towards the language called French, and he was trying his level best, whatever that knowledge he had about the French language, and within the stroke, he wanted to transfer all that knowledge to the students as well as the villagers who were assembled over there in the class. And that's why, even before going towards his own lecturing, he couldn't able to forget. Even he asked the M. Hamel. M. Hamel had asked the little French to recite the rule of participle, and the little French was unable to recite. When he was unable to recite, he thought that it's not a mistake of French, it's a mistake of himself, it's a mistake of the parents, even it's a mistake of children also. So after that, the teacher M. Hamel goes on to speak about the beauties of the French language. He encourages the students as well as the villagers to guard the language carefully, because he tells them that French language is the most beautiful as well as clear and logical language in the world. So this is what the beauty, this is what the power of a French language. And even he tried his level best to convey the importance of a French language to the students who were there in his last class. And not only he was quite satisfied with that, rather he tells them, when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language as if they had the key to their prison. And that's why he was asking each and every one of the attended students as those villagers to always keep close the mother tongue to their heart, because the mother tongue itself is a key to the prison of a slavery. So then, after giving a lecture about the French language, the teacher moves on and starts teaching the class about the French grammar. A grammar lesson was dealt in detail, and even he asked the students to read. And a reading practice also he had took, and during that time the French understands everything what the teacher says with extraordinary clarity, and that too he thinks that he has never listened so carefully to the teacher before, and that the teacher himself has never explained the things so clearly and with so much patience. And that's why the little French, the boy who was negligent, who was lazy towards the study, first time he had a lot of interest in a French language. And after the grammar lesson, the teacher next proceeds to a lesson, of history, and even he narrates the history of France to all those students. And after the history, he moves on towards the another arena, that is what a writing practice is. And while assigning a writing practice, the teacher had asked each one of them to write or to copy the word the France, Alaska, France, Alaska. And everybody was very much busy in scribbling that particular words, that is of France and Alaska, as if the flags of France and Alaska is going to be fluttered at each and every desk. By that time, the little French heard the cooing sound, and he thought whether the Germans are going to force even the peasants to coo in a German language. So sarcastically, he had commented, and that is what he felt it, because all those people who were there in the class are everybody is going to felt, and they thought that they were going to miss their own mother tongue from the very next day onwards as per the Berlin Order. So the teacher had assigned the task of writing, and while assigning the task of writing, he was glancing. He was glancing, and Franz also glances up towards the teacher every now and again while doing that writing practice. The teacher sits very motionless, looking at one thing and the other in the room. Franz thought that it was as if he wants, that means the teacher wants to fix in his mind how everything looks in this room. The teacher has been there for the 40 years with a very little changing except for the trees growing taller and desks and benches were worn smooth by the pupils. The French now thought that M. Hamel must be heartbroken to be living at all, and the teacher and his sister, who is packing upstairs the luggages, are going to leave the country the very next day. And because of that, the teacher M. Hamel was imprinting each and every moment of the class. But French, impressed by M. Hamel's determination to oversee every lesson until the very last, the people move on to history as before the writing task, and even before that, as if the babies are given their turn to recite the French alphabets, B, Ba, Bo, Be, like that. French ABCDs were also recited, and each one of them they were with a core of a heart followed and even done as per the teacher's wish. And during that time, one of the old houser who had brought an old primer, he had opened up it, and with the help of a spelling the letters with others, he was crying a lot. And when others saw him, even sometimes the others also felt to cry. And this kind of sentimental, emotional scene was prevailing over there in the last class of I.M. Hamel. And at last the clock struck at the 12. And when the clock struck at the 12, the Persian trumpet sounds, which makes the end of a soldier's drill. And now the Alaska and Lorano comes under the control of a French. And now no more this Alaska Lorraine is going to be a part of a France. And in place of a French language, German language is going to be forced to the people to learn. And already the teacher had told that the German teacher is going to arrive and he may going to teach instead of a French language in the class itself. And while the clock struck at 12, the Hamel stood up, and after standing up, he was looking very pale colored, he was looking tall, and he began to speak. But while addressing the whole class as my friends, all of a sudden he was unable to continue because his voice was choked down and he don't want to violate the order, and for that purpose he turns back towards a blackboard. Instead, and with a piece of chalk, whatever he had in his hand, he write in a large letter, Viva la France. That means the meaning of Viva la France is nothing but long live of France. In this way, the Hamel, a teacher, makes a final challenge to the oppressive power of the Persians, asserting his allegiance to his own motherland, France. In this way, he again uses the instrument of education, in this case, the blackboard, to assert his freedom and that of his own country. And after writing it, he leans, he bowed down to the wall, and with the gesture he had given an instruction that he told the whole class or the school is dismissed. So, in this way, the last lesson comes to an end with a very heart touching, a sentimental one. So, with this, we come to an end of the lesson with the parting words which had scribbled the teacher on a blackboard. That is Viva la France. Okay, so dear students, so now we have finished the whole lesson, and now it is your turn. You have to complete all the textual exercises given at the end of the lesson. There are a lot of questions. Think as you read, the questions are there in between the text. You have to write the answer to all those things as you read questions, and you have to do the understanding the text exercises. And even we have to take up talking about the text, and we have to do working with the words, and at the end of the exercise even some writing tasks are also given, and all these things you have to do it and complete it in your fair book. So with this we come to an end of today's online offline class. So if at all you have any queries, you may put it into a comment box. Else, if you have any doubt regarding this particular lesson, you have to convey it, or you have to do WhatsApp me in the class group which are made, so that we can able to attend your queries. So this is Rakesh Nadakarni, and with today's online offline class, I would like to express very much happiness or a pleasure to share this presentation. And before that, I would like to suggest these are some video links which are given over here, and here we will have the two movie versions and one presentation. And dear students, during your free time, you just go through these three videos, the links which I had given over here, and all these videos are available at the YouTube, and you have to go through it, and these videos are going to help you to understand the whole lesson. That is the first lesson, and the first lesson itself is titled as the last lesson. So with all this, thank you one and all. Have a nice day.